We'll have a look at the configuration involved in automatic storage type determination during the put-away process. So the objective here is that when we are creating the warehouse task against the inbound delivery request in EWM or the warehouse request document, we want the system to determine destination bin automatically. For this, follow the navigation path. Very first thing in this process is that, other than the setup, is that which kind of put-away strategy or the put-away rule you have allowed in your storage type. So the storage type we are targeting here is RT03. In this storage type, I have activated the pallet strategy. So in this field, you have to select the pallet strategy as an option, which I've already done. I've also made it mandatory that stock without the HU cannot be stored in this storage type or the bin associated with this storage type. I've also allowed the mixed storage, but for the same product. So HU can have different batches, but they should belong to the same product. I have deactivated the capacity check in it. So the purpose of capacity check is to ensure that you are not overflowing the bin with the additional quantity. Whatever quantity you can really fit into it, that's what system will make sure. But since I'm using the pallet strategy, it will inherently check the right quantity is getting into the bin. So this is the option which I have already selected. I'm not using the storage process control, so I've removed this. Put away rule I'm using as empty bin. So once you have identified the storage type, I've already done the corresponding configuration for storage type like section, bin creation, activity area, etc. So we will directly jump into the good reset process since we are dealing with the inbound process. So very first step is you have to define the storage type search sequence. It is nothing but an indicator you are defining over here. And with this indicator, you can assign multiple storage type in the sequence of priority. So suppose you want that during the determination, storage type first, storage type ABC should be determined. And if there is no suitable bin found in that storage type, then the system should look for the bin in the next storage type, which could be XYZ likewise. So if you want to assign multiple storage type in a particular sequence of determination, you can assign those with this indicator. So since I've already defined that indicator and there is only one storage type which I'm planning to use in the destination in the warehouse task creation. So this is the search sequence indicator which I've defined in the previous step, and I've assigned the storage type RT03. So you can see that you can assign multiple storage type in the sequence or in the priority in which you want them to be determined. So there is another storage type which has been assigned over here, RT02. If system fails to identify a bin in this storage type, then during the warehouse task creation, then system will try to look for the available bin in this storage type. So likewise, you can assign multiple storage types here. This put away control indicator is something similar to what we used to have in warehouse management as stock placement or stock removal indicator. But in terms of inbound process, it is stock placement indicator. So this value may or may not be same as your storage type. It's not mandatory that you should have the same value as your storage type. It's just an indicator which you're going to assign in your material master And to this indicator, you're going to assign the storage search sequence indicator, which we defined earlier in the previous step, wherein we have linked that indicator with multiple storage type in the priority or in the sequence in which we want them to be determined. Now, the next step would be, once we have created those two indicators, the next step is to link those. So this is the put away control indicator, which will be assigned into the in material master, right? So this is the warehouse process type, which will be determined during our good receipt process. So I have assigned the put away control indicator, which will be ultimately assigned in material master over here with 1010. There are multiple options available over here. So we have special stock value, then we have the stock type value as well. Suppose if the warehouse process type is this and the put away control indicator is this, but the stock type in the document is quality inspection or something like that, then you can route the stock to a different storage type altogether, to your quality inspection area or to the block status or whatever. So which means that you should have a different storage search sequence assigned over here as compared to this one, because this one is pointing toward RT03. So SAP EWM has like a lot of flexibility in it. So there are different parameters based on which system can point to a different storage type. Or it is very much possible that if you are dealing with customer written process, you want a different storage type to take precedence as opposed to this process flow wherein RT03 will be determined first. So if you want RT02 to be determined first, you can have a different value. So there are multiple so basically it's nothing but a selection parameter criteria. So based on which you can have a system pointing toward a different storage type. So this value, we are keeping it blank since we have already assigned a value in the storage type. But if you do assign a value here, it will take precedence over the value which is assigned in the storage type. Again, EWM has given this flexibility that in certain scenario you want the stock to be stored in a different way as opposed to in a different process. So once you have maintained the parameters, this is the next step. So like which parameters you want to give priority to in order for system to determine the storage type. So those parameters you will activate here. Once you have done these settings, assuming that you have already created a bin type. Bin type is, the concept is same as it used to be in SAP WM. It kind of represents the dimension of bin. I've already assigned the bin type in the storage bins, which I have created for RT03 storage type. So this kind of represents the bin size or dimension of bin. This setting is already been done. I have assigned the handling unit type. So bin type represents the dimension of bin and handling unit type represents the type of box which you are using. It could be pallet or box or whatever. Because ultimately when you get your product, so either your vendor will be sending it in a box and you might be unpacking it and then repacking it so that you can the product your bin can accommodate that product, right? So and ultimately from that bin you are going to pick the product and dispatch it to the customer. So handling unit is nothing but it kind of represents your box. If you are really using a box, it could be a pallet or anything. The main point is that using the handling unit type, you are able to inform system that this kind of box can fit into this kind of or bin, because we have already assigned a bin type. So we are going to maintain a combination of handling unit type with the bin type. through which system will understand that this kind of handling unit can really fit into the, or how many handling unit can fit into one bin. So once you have assigned the HU type to your warehouse number, assign it to your storage type. And one thing you need to note here is that it is not really mandatory to do all this step. But in my case, I have already activated the handling unit type requirement as a mandatory one, which means that, and I've also activated the handling unit type check, which means that when we are creating a warehouse task, system will identify that if there is no HU involved in that, in the warehouse task item, then system will throw error. And once system identifies that, okay, this is the handling unit type, which is there in the processing and warehouse task, then system will try to make a check if it is maintained in the right combination with the storage type and the bin type. So here I'm assigning the allowed handling unit type for the storage type. Here you are maintaining the combination. This is the main step through which you are informing the system that this kind of handling unit can fit into this type of bin. Like I said, this represents a dimension of the bin. So you can have multiple values. Now coming to put away rules, because we are using the pallet strategy here. So like I said, ultimately, technically speaking, pallet strategy is nothing but further subdivision of a bin. Like in warehouse, you for subdivide the warehouse in storage type. Then again, the storage type get subdivided into sections if they are relevant in your scenario. And then each section is further subdivided into bins. Now here using the pallet strategy, we are further subdividing it into sections. So your bin number, let's say 0101, may have 3 sections. Now each section can hold certain amount of boxes, maybe 2 boxes, maybe 1 box, and again it depends upon the product, right? You might be able to store 3 boxes of a smaller product, but if you have a bigger, larger product, you can this bin can hold only 1 box of it. So it all system is able to interpret and understand that based on the handling unit type and the bin type combination. So if you have a smaller box, then you might have defined E1 as a value. If you have a larger box, then you might have defined E2 as a value. So here we are informing the system that there are 3 sections in the bins which are associated with RT03, and then each section can hold. So these are the 3 sections. Each section can hold 2 handling units in it, and the bin type is SQ01. Now here we are informing the system that if this is the bin type, you can have multiple bin types. It's not just one you would have. So you can have multiple bin types within your storage type, small bins, large bins, something like that. And if this is the bin type and this is the handling unit type, then 3 section will be there, which means that we will subdivide that bin physically in 3 subsection, and each subsection can hold 2 handling unit. And how does system understand that there will be 2 handling unit? Because in the previous note, if you recall, 6 was the value which was appearing, right? So these are the section number, name, this is the bin type, and 6 will be the value. So it has to be multiple of this. Whatever value you enter here, it has to be a multiple of that. So once you've done it, so I'm directly jumping to the warehouse monitor. Basically, the end result is that physically, forget about the system. Physically, if we look at physically how it is, that we know that bin will have a certain size or dimension of it, and it can hold certain amount of quantity or boxes. If you have a handling unit involved here, then certainly we are talking about pallet or boxes or whatever. So it can hold certain amount of boxes, right? So that's what we are doing. So bin type and the combination of it with the handling unit type informs the system that these kind of sizes of the box are allowed to be placed into this bin. Now the question is how many. So through the sectioning, system will get to know that how many boxes will really go inside it. So if you have multiple handling unit type involved in this picture, which means that it's not a static thing. So whichever handling unit type or handling unit which you are placing in that bin, based on that first placement of the handling unit, system is able to interpret that how many more boxes in the very same bin can be accommodated. So here you can see the data. So if this is the main bin number, then these are the subsection, right? Like if you remember in the configuration, we defined 1, 2, 3 as a value of the subsection. Now each section can hold